Hi, I'm Bisma, and you're listening to The Other C Word, a podcast about all things cancer from a stage 4 breast cancer warrior. We cover health and wellness, mind, body, and soul. Plan to leave each episode with hopefully some new insights and inspiration. Let's get into this week's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Other C Word. It's Bisma, and today's episode is one I've been meaning to record because it's a question I've been getting asked a ton. Why did you get a mastectomy if you have stage 4 cancer? It's a valid question. The short answer is because I did my research, I listened to my intuition, and I advocated for myself. But the longer answer, that's what we're going to get into today. So grab a matcha, chai, whatever you're sipping on, and let's talk about surgery, survival, and making decisions that aren't always standard, but still feel right for you. So, why did I choose surgery with stage 4 cancer? First, let's start with the background. In metastatic breast cancer, meaning breast cancer that's spread to other parts of your body, a mastectomy is not considered standard of care. Most oncologists won't recommend it, and I get it. I think the thinking is essentially since the cancer has already spread, removing the breast tumor won't really fix anything. But here's the thing, I don't feel like I'm most patients. And I just wasn't satisfied with just going with the standard of care. I started reading, truly digging into medical research, and I found 3 studies that really just made me pause and dig in deeper. They weren't randomized control trials, but they were still legitimate. They were retrospective studies, meaning they looked at past data. And here's what I found in them. 2 of the studies showed an improvement in overall survival for patients with stage 4 breast cancer who had surgery to remove the primary tumor. The 3rd study showed no overall benefit, except in a subset of patients who were younger, like I am. Okay, so that was enough for me to go, maybe this isn't the gold standard or the standard of care, but it's not completely baseless either. Navigating the medical system was the next difficulty in this process. So I printed out those studies like I was prepping for a presentation. I booked consults with breast surgeons. I brought my data, I brought my case, and I was ready to be taken seriously. And the first surgeon I met with said no. She told me because these are not randomized control trials, I'm not going to be comfortable doing the surgery. I left that appointment feeling really defeated, but not completely deterred. I just knew that I had to keep looking and find someone else who would do it. And then I went to a second surgeon. We talked, I explained my rationale, I pleaded my case, and he said yes. So that yes changed everything. But breast surgeons don't do the reconstruction parts. The next thing I needed to do was find a plastic surgeon who would also be on board. I knew I didn't want to get expanders. I didn't want to do the deep flap surgery, which is like a 6+ hour surgery where they use tissue from your stomach to build the breast. It's amazing for some people, but for recovery, it's way too long. And for me having to be off treatment while I'm recovering from surgery, it just doesn't make sense to do a longer surgery with a longer recovery time. So I wanted to go direct to implant. That means the implants go in at the same time as the mastectomy, one surgery and done. It's a lot to ask your body to do in one go, but I was hopeful. I also really wanted to preserve my nipples, and that was really important to me. Whether that would be possible depended on how my skin held up after the mastectomy. The surgeons wouldn't know until I was literally on the table. Would there be enough blood flow to the skin and nipples? Would they be viable? There weren't any guarantees, but I went into the surgery with hope. So I had my team. I had my breast surgeon, and then I had a plastic surgeon that he worked very closely with, that he was comfortable doing the surgery with. All right, now let's talk about one of the biggest stressors for me during this, which is going to be pausing my cancer meds while I'm going through surgery and recovering from surgery. As a metastatic cancer patient, I take targeted oral therapy pills every single day. These drugs are working. They're keeping my disease stable. So stopping them even temporarily is extremely terrifying. I had to stop my medication 7 days before my surgery for it to clear my system. And I didn't know how long after surgery it would be before I could go back on them. It all just depended on recovery and what my team of doctors was saying. So yeah, I was scared. Not just scared of surgery, but scared of what would happen in that gap of not being on treatment. Would the cancer come back? Would it get more aggressive? Would something change in my body while I was unprotected? It was definitely a big risk, but to me, it felt like it was worth it to get the cancer out. I also have a BRCA2 mutation, so my breast tissue is more at risk for developing additional cancer. And I really wanted to get all that out for my mindset and for my emotional well being. So, the surgery itself. The day of surgery came, I was nervous, but also oddly at peace with my decision. My team was prepped, my body was ready, and when I woke up, they had done it. Direct to implant done, nipples saved, no complications. I literally cried. It felt like this huge wave of relief. I spent one night in the hospital. They gave me IV meds for pain, and honestly, the pain was manageable for the most part. It wasn't fun, but it wasn't horrific either. I have definitely have had surgeries that have been way worse and a lot more pain. Okay, let's talk drains. If you've had a mastectomy, you already know what I'm about to say. Those little tiny tubes that collect fluid from your body post-surgery, they are the actual worst. You have to strip them and empty out the drains several times a day. My husband was a doll and did all of that for me. And then when he had to go out of town on business, I managed to do that myself for a few days on my own. And by that point, I felt more comfortable doing it. So with the drains, there's a rule for when they can be removed. You have to have under 30 milliliters of output on each side for 3 consecutive days. So I hit that milestone on day 11, but my plastic surgeon wanted to be extra cautious, so I kept them in until day 14. Those 3 extra days were brutal, I will say that. Pain-wise, I was on a combo of oxycodone, ibuprofen, Tylenol, and gabapentin. But honestly, the drains were more uncomfortable than the pain was. And when the drains finally did come out, I was shocked at how long they were. You can actually see a video on my Instagram at Bismilology. I filmed the moment that they came out and shared it because I want people to know what to expect. I wish that I had known how long they were inside of me instead of just thinking it was like a couple of inches of drain in there. So, recovery timeline. Today, as I'm recording this, I'm about 4 weeks out from surgery, and knock on wood, everything is going super smoothly. I'm off all of the pain meds. I'm sleeping well. I'm still sleeping upright. I'm back to being able to going on walks. I'm not cleared yet for workouts or going back to tennis. That'll be week 6. But otherwise, I feel pretty close to normal, just a little bit bored since I can't do much. Emotionally, I feel so empowered by doing this surgery. So, one thing I haven't shared publicly yet is what came back on the biopsy for my surgery. So, I just had a mammogram and ultrasound about 6 weeks before surgery, and they had actually told me that my original primary tumor was gone and there weren't any additional tumors. When they did the biopsy of the tissue that came out of my breast, it showed that there was still cancer in my right breast. So that was really shocking and a little bit difficult to hear. I thought the treatments were working well enough that the cancer would be out. But also, I think on the flip side, it also validated my decision to do the surgery because if I hadn't done the surgery, I would have never known. And that cancer would have continued to exist in my body. Another thing I was really happy about is that we did not remove any lymph nodes during surgery, so I don't have a longer recovery time from that. But now knowing that there was still cancer there has given me even more peace about saying yes to surgery. I recently just had my 3-month scans, and because I was off treatment for 3 weeks total, 1 week before surgery, 2 weeks after, I was probably the most nervous going into these scans, and I have been for previous scans. But thank God my scans came back stable. We saw a reduction in size in my liver lesions. So I'm beyond grateful for that news and not having a setback. We did also see some inflammation around my heart and in my lungs area. So I think the next step for that is we're going to do a PET scan and make sure that it is just inflammation. So here's what I want to say to anyone who's facing a similar decision. If you also have metastatic breast cancer and have contemplated getting a surgery, there is no one-size-fits-all answer in cancer. Yes, there's standard of care, but there's also your story, your data, your body, your values. For me, removing the breast tissue was a symbolic act, if anything. It felt like reclaiming my power, taking something back, and avoiding this fear that I've always have of like, what's going on with my breast tissue? Is it growing additional tumors? And we don't know. Maybe there won't be a measurable difference in survival. Only time will tell. but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it mattered so much to me. And it's helped me feel like I am doing everything I can possibly do. So to anyone out there navigating a stage 4 diagnosis and feeling like your choices are limited, I see you and I'm here with you. Do your research, bring your papers, ask the questions, advocate fiercely, get second opinions, get third ones if you need to, and ultimately just trust your gut. Sometimes healing isn't just about scan results, it's about what helps you sleep at night. If you have more questions about my surgery, my decision, my recovery, shoot me a message on Instagram at Bismilology. And if this episode helped you, send it to a friend who might be weighing on a similar decision for themselves. You never know whose life it might impact. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back next time with another episode. And until then, take care of yourself. You are doing better than you think. Thanks for listening to The Other C Word, hosted by Bismilology. New episodes drop Mondays. Connect with me on socials at Bismilology, and let's all learn, grow, and inspire each other.